Extra space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.
I'm Richard and welcome to a special A Space to Speak Your Mind podcast for Mental Health Awareness Week, which aims to shine a light on the subject of mental health, challenges with which millions of people face every day. But despite increased efforts to break the stigma around the topic, society is still struggling to open up about mental health. New research commissioned by Fitbit revealed less than half of UK adults are comfortable talking about their mental health. Someone who's faced many of his own challenges and is dedicated to helping others with their own mental health is Dr. Alex George, who's a UK Youth Mental Health Ambassador. So Dr. Alex, with World Mental Health Week taking place this week, how do you think we're viewing mental health at the moment?
I think progress has been made in the last few years. I mean, if you think about probably pre-pandemic times, I suspect we'd find that mental health was not as much on the agenda and talked about, and well-being and so on. But, we have made some progress. I mean, it looks like at the moment we're getting towards 50%, we're at the 40% mark. And I think people are probably hesitant still to talk about mental health because it isn't always the easiest topic to talk about, or traditionally hasn't been. We often find talking about physical health much easier. And this doesn't have to be the case. I mean, our health is holistic. It includes physical, mental, spiritual, and emotional health, which all impact one another. Working in all these areas gives us the best chance to ensure your overall well-being. And so ultimately, what we want is people to talk about the good times and what keeps the mental health good, but also talk about when things are difficult. Some of the bits that surprised me probably from the research by Fitbit have been around who we're talking to. So 14% choosing to speak to mum compared to only 4% that would speak to their dad or their brother. And I think that probably reflects societal expectations of men. Those are changing, and I hope we continue to make progress.
So from the research, what things have you found that can help with our mental health?
So interestingly, when you look at it, 19% go and do some physical exercise alone, 18% focus on healthy sleeping habits, and 18% on prioritizing self-care. So really, I think this is a reflection of probably what we've learned from the pandemic, that actually when it comes down to it, our well-being, our overall well-being needs to be focused on, needs to be taken care of. And you have to actively do things each day that improve that. And whether that's going outside for a walk and having a bit of a natural light, whether it's having running a bath and listening to some music for your own kind of self-care, or whether it's actually focusing on an unwind routine to improve your sleep. We're all learning about ways that we can improve, our overall well-being.
And how important do you think physical exercise is in our mental well-being?
I mean, physical exercise is fantastic for our well-being. I know that if I've had a stressful day, yesterday I really was, feeling quite stressed. I got outside for a short run and I felt so much better for it. And sometimes it's just going for a walk, whatever, but being outside, moving your body, getting blood flow to the brain, releasing endorphins, giving yourself that dopamine reward feeling as well. So that kind of release of dopamine from a sense of reward that you've done something, that you've achieved something. All of those things kind of come together, can really help us, clear our head and feel better.
And where can we find out more about what we've talked about today for Mental Health Awareness Week?
So if you want to find out more information, head to the Fitbit website or their Instagram social pages. I'm also going to be doing a lot around Mental Health Awareness Week, talking about ways in which you can look after your mental well-being.
That's fantastic. Dr. Alex George, thank you for joining us on this very special A Space to Speak Your Mind for Mental Health Awareness Week.
A Space to Speak Your Mind with Cornwall Mind, supporting Mental Health Awareness Week.
More than half of people who've experienced poor mental health in the past 3 years say thinking about their financial situation makes them anxious, according to new research from the Money and Pension Services. The research released to mark Mental Health Awareness Week also shows they're more likely to be at risk of falling into serious money problems than those who haven't experienced poor mental health. So let's find out more from Sarah Porretta, who's the Strategy and Insights Director at Money and Pension Service. Good to have you on the show, Sarah.
Hi there, good to be on here.
So what have you found from your latest research?
So we run a big survey, the Financial Wellbeing Survey for the UK, and we found that people who've experienced a mental health problem in the last 3 years are much more likely to be anxious about money. So, for example, they say they're twice as likely to say thinking about their financial situation makes them anxious. So that's 57% of people we surveyed. And also they're more likely to be behind on priority bills. So 4 times, people who've had a mental health problem are 4 times as likely to be behind on priority bills than people who haven't. And that was a big 44% of people surveyed. So you can really see the impact that mental health problems can have on the way people manage their money.
Yeah, it's really affecting a lot of people at the moment. But why do you think in particular that people experiencing poor mental health are more likely to struggle with their finances?
So it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation. So obviously some mental health conditions just make it more difficult to manage your money. So on one end of the scale, you might have somebody who maybe goes on a spending spree or something like that, struggles with control of their money and credit. Or you might have people whose just general anxiety means that everyday tasks are really overwhelming. And obviously money would probably be at the top of the most overwhelming of everyday tasks. But on the flip side, we also see people who get into trouble with money, but then that causes anxiety as well. So you do see sort of both sides of the coin.
So it's kind of really a twofold impact that it's having. So the problems with the money is causing maybe some of the experiences to be worse, but also those experiences that they've had before are not really helping with their financial situation.
No, exactly. And, all of us have probably had a friend or family member who's suffered from some type of mental health problem. And the idea of ringing up a debt advisor and really making that first move to do something about it can just seem like a mountain to climb. So what we do try and get across to people is don't sit on that problem, don't let it stew. There are really skilled debt advisors out there that half of our debt advice clients are people who are experiencing mental ill health. So they are very, very used to talking to people who are suffering mental health problems and money problems and can deal really, really empathetically with you.
And do you think there's other reasons why people might not seek support over money issues?
Yeah, I think on a national level, whether you have mental health problems or not, we are rubbish, aren't we, at talking about money? And it's one of the last taboos in society. And we've done research in the past about that as well. So I think there's that too. Culturally, we're not great at talking about money when things are going well, but we're even worse at talking about money, even with friends and family, when things are going badly. And that's a challenge for us to overcome, really, is to make talking about money more part of what we do as a nation.
And you were saying there as well, for our friends and family, if we notice someone that might be having problems with their money, what are really the signs that we should be looking out for, and how do you think we should approach that?
Yeah, so it'll be a range of signs. So, I mentioned earlier, some people their mental health condition will mean that they're more likely to go on a spending spree or something like that. So you look out for those Amazon parcels or people buying things that don't really fit with what their income to be. So that can be a sign. I think people sort of hiding bills or hiding kind of letters coming in can be a sign. Also, just people kind of seeming more stressed or anxious or kind of mentioning things like overdrafts. So just look at, it'll be different for everybody, right? But look out for all those different kinds of signs. And we know that people are very private about money. So being secretive within a relationship, for example, can be a sign in itself. And previous research we've done as well shows that people are actually quite likely, even from their partner, to hide what's going on in their financial life.
But there is positive news, isn't there? There's a thing called Money Helper that offers support. Can you explain to us what that is?
Yeah, so we're a government-backed organisation and we run the Money Helper website. And within that, we provide money guidance. So for people that are thinking, right, well, I'm not in loads of trouble, but I want to get better at this, there's loads of tools and resources on there. There's things like, we've just recently launched a bill prioritizer tool that helps people work out which bill do they need to pay first. That bills some are higher priority than others. So that's a tool on there. We've got something called Couch to Financial Fitness. That's a whole load of steps you can work through to get your finances on track. So that's in the sort of guidance space. And then if things are getting difficult or you've reached or are reaching crisis point, we're a kind of gateway into debt advice. So we have a debt advice locator tool that would help you find debt advice across Cornwall, and also gives you access into some of the big national charities like Step Change and Money Advice Trust that provide debt advice over the phone as well. So lots of different channels, and that's a way into debt advice. And then worth just quickly mentioning as well, some people here, their money will be related to pensions. So we provide pensions guidance, really skilled advisors in that space as well. So go to Money Helper and you can get into the money, debt and pensions areas all at the same time.
Yeah, lots of support out there. And there's also something called mental health crisis breathing space. Who's eligible for that?
Yeah, so that is a scheme whereby if you have an acute mental health condition, you can be referred into that scheme, and that will basically pause your money issues. So that team can help navigate kind of freezes on interest rates and all that kind of stuff that can mean it can get more and more out of control, and give you a space to get your health on track and not worry about your money for a little while. And it does what it says on the tin. It gives you a breathing space, and you need to be referred into that via a health worker. So if you're already receiving care for your mental health problem, talk to your support worker, ask them to look it up. So it's called Mental Health Crisis Breathing Space. And you can find out about that on our website as well.
And just remind us where the website is.
It's moneyhelper.org.uk.
Thank you so much, Sarah Porretta, who is the Strategy and Insights Director at Money and Pension Service. So that's been a special Space to Speak Your Mind podcast for Mental Health Awareness Week. If you missed the May show, you can hear the full programme now just by searching on your podcast app for A Space to Speak Your Mind. We're on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and also Spotify. And join us next month for the brand new show for June. And don't forget just to hit subscribe on your podcast app and you'll be able to hear us anytime that we have a new show out. Check the website cornwallmind.org for more information and support. I'm Richard and I'll catch you next time on A Space to Speak Your Mind.
An extra space to speak your mind with Cornwall Mind for better mental health.